Good morning, everybody. So today I wanted to talk to you about the narcissist child that's raised by a narcissist hierarchy parent and becomes the narcissist. We're not talking about the scapegoat today. This would be the person that grows up and becomes that love partner that caused so much destruction in your life. So we're going to go over that and then some of their weaknesses that they refuse to deal with. So the narcissist child, when they grow up with a narcissist hierarchy parent, they find out early in childhood that love is transactional. It's not who they are that they're loved for, it's what they can do or how they can provide for the parent. So they sense that the parent cannot meet their emotional needs, so they learn to perform and excel through, say, sports or academics, and become like their parent's confidant, the parent's emotional support, and the child abandons their true self, morphing into whatever the parent, who's critical and opinionated, would deem worthy for them to become. And so they abandon their true self and become basically whatever that parent would love for them to become. And that's why the parent makes the child an extension of them and they live through their children. That's why the narcissist, when they come to you, they do the same thing with their love partner, and then they do it with their children as well, and anybody around them really, but mainly the people closer to them. So without a genuine sense of self, they get addicted to outside validation or external validation. They crave it, and it creates a lifetime of a pathological cycle or a pattern. So in their mind, and I know you probably won't get this, but they really start as a people pleaser, but they go down the route of people pleasing and becoming what their enemy was, which is to be a manipulator. And so what happens is they create a lifetime pattern of people pleasing and then self-betrayal, because they really destroy themselves in the end. They destroy a lot of people, their wrecking ball in their whole pathway. That's why you want to leave the narcissist, because you want to get away from them, because they destroy everything in their pathway. But they also, we always say that they play themselves in the worst way. But in that path of destruction, of them destroying themselves, they destroy everybody else as they go down that road. Their relationships become transactional, and deep within lives a profound sense of betrayal. They were loved through a transactional state of mind, but they felt like they were used, which they were. They were used, and they were betrayed in the very end. So they have this deep-seated sense of anxiety, anger, pain through the betrayal. And they let it stay buried, hibernating in there, and because they don't want to deal with it, everybody else has to feel the brunt of their pain, and they're extremely dysfunctional because they can't regulate themselves. And until they want to acknowledge it, when they're ready to acknowledge it, is when healing can take place for a narcissist. And they just don't want to. But when you're in a situation like this, the narcissist grows up, typically they could be amongst people and everything. But when you're growing up, because I grew up like this, when you grow up and you could be amongst the family, but because everybody is emotionally checked out, but you may not be, or until you are, right? Then you're going to feel lonely, because every opinion that you have, if it's outside whatever the matrix is speaking of, or whatever the news is purporting, whatever is they're like, they go with the cattle. So whatever out there in the world is in agreement with the cattle, that's what they believe, and that's it. And you can almost know that they don't even know why they believe some of the things that they believe. They just feel that what's right is what the cattle drive out there is doing. And that's the farthest thing from the truth. I call it the matrix. But growing up lonely is how you feel, because everybody's checked out. But then what happens with them is they become emotionally checked out as well, to where when it comes to the empath, we don't give up. We're fighters, y'all. So we don't give up. I always say, nobody's going to take my joy. Nobody's going to take that joy in my heart, that fun that I have. It's just not going to happen, y'all. And I think a lot of us, we were all tested, and heavy, we were tested as children. And so that's the thing. It's just they had a weaker innate spirit that they succumb to these things. But they didn't have to, because we all have choices. Growing up lonely with parents that are emotionally and physically sometimes checked out causes a child to crave a connection, but they also fear the intimacy. So with that, it causes the individual to withdraw when they get in a relationship and it gets too close. They just would rather sabotage it, and that's what the narcissist does all the time. It's like they want a deep connection with somebody. They truly do. But because they can't be vulnerable, because they fear vulnerability, and they fear emotional exposure. Instead, they let pride take over, and then they usually destroy the situation and you with it. But they obsess also over the security of protecting these situations as well, this vulnerability and this emotional exposure. And so they become very controlling of their partners, and they fear abandonment. They fear losing control because they are fake. I mean, I'd fear losing control as well and being exposed if I was wearing a mask all the time. And that's the problem. The construct they go down causes them and throws them into all these negative, constructive emotions. And they don't. It's all because they have fear, and they have betrayal that they dealt with, and then it becomes hate and anger. And because they don't want to deal with it, then they rage out, and they have no emotional regulation. And it causes them always to run. It's like they desire harmony and peace, but they fear confrontation. So they have trouble trusting and fear betrayal and intimacy. And that's like a problem when you're in a relationship, a love partner relationship with a narcissist, with anybody. So they have several, of course, they have several benefits to some degree, but usually it's only to help them. But they can be, good in their job and their career and stuff, and kind of can be motivated. The covert we're talking about mainly here. But they also have many weaknesses. That's what I want to talk about today. And so the first one is they don't have any gratitude. They don't have any thankfulness. They're never thankful. They're insatiable with the fact that everybody owes them and that they are entitled to everything. They find fault in everything. But next is they can't commit in a relationship. They want to be in a loyal, committed relationship. They really want that from you. Everything with them is a lot of times one-sided as well. So you can be doing everything in the relationship that maybe they do want in a partnership, but they're still not happy because they refuse to go inside and heal and deal with these emotions and to deal with these situations that have caused an injury in their life. And so you can't be in a committed, you can want commitment, but it's not going to work if you want your cake and you want to eat it too. You want to have your cake and you want to eat it too. So you can't have your partner doing everything that you suggest that you want in a relationship as far as loyalty and commitment, trust, giving you good emotional support and being there for you and not breadcrumbing you. And these individuals, they're envious, they compare, they're always ready to run to the next best thing. They get bored very easily, they're insatiable, and they're never satisfied. Next is they need outside validation for everything. And this is a huge problem with the narcissist because they get outside validation for everything. A lot of times they're into accumulating things and funds and money and looking good and dressing good and maybe working on their career. And all that stuff is great, okay? And we should be working on that every day. But you cannot neglect the fact that everything really that truly matters is behind the walls of this body. It's your mind, your will, your emotions, your spirit, your soul, your relationship with God, your relationship with your partner. How you treat others is how you want to be treated. These are the fruits and the gifts and the fruits of the spirit, man. This is really what humanity should be built on. If it wasn't for these things, humanity would have been destroyed a long time ago. So that's a major problem. They have fear of being exposed, fear of validation to satisfy their fragile ego, rejection, abandonment. They have paranoia and they don't trust anybody, and they're fake. That's why they're placed in fear as well. And then because they don't want to deal with anything, they protect themselves with pride. They're distrusting. They're suspicious of others all the time, and they think that others operate the way they do. It's either that or you're naive and you're an idiot, so you deserve whatever comes to you. That's not right. They're selfish. They're always selfish. And when you have no empathy and you're selfish, it's a bad combination because you will walk all over people and not even give a damn. You won't apologize. Nothing. Pride is the next one. Their pride has got their head so pumped up, man. It's like an air balloon, and it's ridiculous. They're never accountable for the actions and the things that they do. They never want to change. All they want to do is get more and more outside validation. And like I just said, whenever anything gets too close or they have to get vulnerable or they have to be confronted with some of their own issues, man, they just run, ghost, whatever it takes. They're not going to address those things or they'll rage. And that's why they feel like crap when they're by themselves, because you have to deal with these things or you want to live a life to where you can live with yourself. Don't you ever always hear people saying that? And I, growing up, you hear people saying that. I got to be able to live with myself. Well, the narcissist doesn't think about that at all. And they get stuck in these cycles, man. And these cycles are because they don't care about anything about anybody else. It's only just satisfying themselves, and they don't even want to satisfy or deal with the fears and the anger and the betrayal or anything that has injured them. They just want to run, and go to the next best thing, or just get soothed by somebody else's outside validation of them, telling them how great they are, how awesome they are, giving them love, compassion, taking them on trips, and buying them things. I mean, really, that's how it is. Or fearing them. And that's it. That's where they feel successful. So it's really their own fault, man. They have an addictive personality. I mean, they can get addicted, and that's the problem too, because they're so addicted to everything as far as getting these outside validation. Then they get addicted, some of them, to sex, to porn, to drugs, to gambling, to buying things, hoarding things. I mean, it's the power, the control, defeating others, the competition. This becomes a problem. Their fragile ego, of course, because they're shallow, because they're wearing a mask, so they can't be vulnerable with anybody. And if you just do one wrong thing, just one wrong slight, what they consider a slight, or if you question them about something they've done that, affected you in a negative way, and you want to address it so you can kind of move on from it and maybe get an apology, or maybe come to some sort of understanding, they're never going to, deal with that. They'll rage on you, or they'll give you the silent treatment, breadcrumb you and leave you, cheat on you. And you can't live like that. So that's pretty much it. But that's the problem with the narcissist. And then they deal with anxiety and paranoia issues because they always feel like somebody's maybe going to come at them. But you did so many horrible things to people. How could you expect for you not to have paranoia? Usually who comes at them is a tertiary type supply, somebody from that they're from the streets, the downgrade types, because they're going to be more at their level. That's why you got to put that energy into yourself. If you would soothe yourself and take care of yourself and self-care like you do the narcissist, you'd probably own your own business, really. But instead, a lot of times the empath is trying to fix people, help people, and they're concerned and they're passionate. And they see people that are hurt, that are in and around their life, because we happen to attract hurt people and people that are emotionally checked out and like to abuse, at least the old us. And so we got to be careful of that. And that's why your intuition and honing your intuition, knowing these red flags, and be able to quickly assess somebody and point them out and get the hell out of there. I mean, if you can pick up on people's red flags on the first date, then, you can check yourself out of that before you even get emotionally attached. So that's I guess, the idea of having a narcissist channel and talking on this stuff every day. Because that's what we want to do. We want to be preemptive in this. Plus, we don't want these individuals in our life as wolves in sheep's clothing all the time, just ready to take us out or to sabotage us when we're doing, finally, you're getting on the right path, the righteous path here, and you're going in a great direction. Then you got some idiot in your life that, sabotages you. Anyway, if you can give me a like, subscription, a thumbs up, love y'all. Till next time, peace be out.